And now for the news.
Lakeside Newsroom of the Henrico Citizen. Your hometown news source since 2001. This is the Henrico News Minute with publisher Tom Lapis.
Results from Henrico Schools' survey of parents and families about their plans for in-person learning are back. We'll tell you what they said on today's Henrico News Minute. It's Tuesday, October 20th, 2020. Today's News Minute is brought to you by the Lakeside Farmers Market.
And now for the news.
Well, a majority of full-time Henrico County Public Schools employees may be prepared to return to the classroom grudgingly, but less than half of Henrico families appear ready to send their students back to school in person. That's according to a school system survey whose results were made public yesterday. The school system surveyed full-time employees and all families of public school students earlier in the month to gauge the choices they might make if the school board decides to offer some form of in-person learning for the second 9-week grading period, which begins November 16th. Now, the board is set to adopt a plan of action at its Thursday meeting after receiving a recommendation from its health committee. Results of the survey as they pertain to employees may be a little difficult to figure out because staff members were able to select more than one answer. 75% indicated as one of their choices that they would be willing to return to schools if instructed to do so, but 55% also selected as one of their choices that they would not return and would either retire, resign, or seek an accommodation or leave time. Now, that wide of a gap could create uncertainty for school officials as they try to decide a course of action. About 90% of the 5,030 employees who were surveyed responded. Among the families who responded, about 64% overall, representing about 34,000 of the school system's 51,000 students, a slight majority indicated that their children likely would be continuing to learn virtually regardless of which of three in-person plans the board might approve. The most popular in-person plan was selected by 49% of respondents, and it was a hybrid model during which one group of students would attend school on Mondays and Tuesdays while another group would attend Thursdays and Fridays. Students then would learn from home during the other 3 days of the week. A 4-day model during which all students who attended in person would do so Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday drew only about 43% approval from parents, while a 5-day in-person option with abbreviated schedules won the least amount of support, with just 40% of respondents saying they'd send their students back for that schedule. The highest percentage of responses among families came from the Three Chop district in the West End, in which almost 76% responded. In the Varina district, only about 57% responded, while in the Fairfield district, that number was about 59%. Elementary school employees seemed the most amenable to returning in person, with 80% indicating as at least one of their answers that they would come back, while 43% selected at least one of the other 5 options. By contrast, high school employees seemed the most hesitant to return, with only 67% selecting as one of their answers that they would, while 73% chose at least one of the other 5 options, indicating that they would not. Employees submitted 299 pages worth of comments in response to the survey, with many indicating that they grudgingly selected a return to school option as one of their choices. Wrote one, quote, "Your survey is not actually a survey but an ultimatum. Work or resign. I don't qualify for medical leave, so those are my only 2 options." End quote. You can visit henricocitizen.com and click on News and then Education to read more about this topic. One Henrico teacher got a surprise visit yesterday from some top Henrico County officials, and with good reason. J.R. Tucker High School biology teacher Jane Selden is celebrating her 45th year in the classroom, all of them in Henrico. And to mark the occasion, County Manager John Vitolkis, Henrico School Superintendent Amy Cashwell, Vitolkis' Chief of Staff Carrie Trattina, and Tucker Principal Art Raymond surprised her at her home with a number of gifts, including a Tucker letter jacket, a service pin to commemorate her anniversary with the school system, and a cake and flowers. Vitolkis and Trattina are actually both former students of Selden's at Tucker, where she has spent the last 41 years and 9 months, following 2 years at Fairfield Middle and 2 at Freeman High School. During a special session that began August 18th, members of the General Assembly introduced more than 50 police and criminal justice reform bills. Both parties introduced legislation that seemed to be inspired by months of protests throughout the state. Among legislation that was passed by both the House of Delegates and the Virginia Senate, a mental health response bill that would establish an alert system when someone is experiencing a mental health crisis, a crisis intervention bill that would require the Department of Criminal Justice Services to establish standards and update policies for law enforcement concerning sensitivity and awareness of racism, and a bill allowing localities to establish a civilian oversight body for their police department. The civilian oversight body can investigate incidents involving law enforcement as well as complaints from citizens and make binding disciplinary decisions, including termination in the event that an officer breaches departmental and professional standards. Henrico County is considering a civilian review board. You can read about these pieces of legislation and others that earned approval in the General Assembly by visiting henricocitizen.com, clicking on News, and then General Assembly. Oh, sad news from Western Henrico, where on Saturday night a 22-year-old county woman died in a car accident. Caroline Lonegro was making a left turn under a green light from Lauderdale Drive onto Patterson Avenue when her 2020 Hyundai Elantra was struck by a Chevrolet Silverado traveling west on Patterson toward Goochland County, according to Henrico Police. Her car was pushed into the eastbound lane. She was taken to a local hospital where she later died. Lonegro was a 2016 graduate of Tucker High School and had just graduated earlier this year from Penn State. She was planning to start a new job with Accenture soon, according to a Facebook post from her father. A bone marrow testing drive is being scheduled for Thursday from 3 to 7 in Short Pump. It is designed to seek a potential bone marrow donor for a 2-year-old Richmond boy who's suffering from a rare form of leukemia. Anyone between the ages of 18 to 44 is eligible to attend and give a saliva sample during drive-through testing. The boy, Ihanu Merrill, is of Black, Native American, French, and Italian bloodlines. Bone marrow donations do need to be more genetically similar than other organ donations, so organizers are particularly hopeful that people with any of those ancestries will attend. The event will take place at 11861 West Broad Street at the site of the former Toys R Us near Kroger and across from the Short Pump Town Center. Pre-registration is helpful but not required. You can visit join.bethematch.org/Mason's Toy Box to learn more or register. Today's Henrico News Minute has been brought to you by the Lakeside Farmers Market. Hey, if you haven't stopped by, do so tomorrow between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. It's at 6110 Lakeside Avenue. Look for them under the big pavilion. You can also visit facebook.com/Lakeside Market RVA to learn more.